I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was November the 28th, 2014. It was a Black Friday. I remember T Street was out with the masses. He was looking for a copy of The Evil Within on Xbox 360. And I remember, oh no, on the way home, I don't have nothing to eat while I play my game. T Street stopped at Sonic and got 2 Coney hot dogs and then realized I gotta hurry up and get home because that Russian card is starting with Ruslan Provodnikov, that sick freak, 24-0 at 17 KOs, is going to be taking on Jose Luis Castillo, who was just a month shy of his 41st birthday. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live, and I cover boxing. I remember the feeling I had after watching that card, almost like that taint you get right on your nose after. I was going to get all rated, but I'm not. When I saw that 62-year-old man, Mickey Rourke, I said, listen, I'm going to tell you the best way I can possibly can. Let me tell you the best way I can possibly. I was watching the fight, right? Now, watching Mickey Rourke versus whoever the hell he was fighting, I forgot his name. I was watching the fight, like, what is this shit? Like, I'm sitting there and I'm by myself and I just keep saying, like, what is this shit? What is this? And I'm like, I just keep saying, ew. Like, it was so upsetting. And then to find out that it was staged, I had to scratch the whole event. So I look at it like Ruslan Provodnikov right now, 23-3 with 16 KOs. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live on March the 28th, 2015 in the StubHub Center, Carson, California. It is more than close, closer than ever. Not been with a Pacquiao close. Y'all try to troll me. Listen. Lucas Martin Matthysse. What is he? 36-3 with 34 KOs. Is the #1 contender for the WBO 140-pound title. It is vacated. It's supposed to be Terrence Crawford versus Chris Algieri for that title. Long story, but Chris Algieri wants more money, and since Terrence Crawford was a former champion in a former division, the way the WBO works is if you vacate your belt at 135, then that automatically makes you leapfrog the rightful #1 contender, who is Lucas Matthysse, and become the mandatory #1 contender for Chris Algieri, who, when he decided to fight Pacquiao for a belt in another division, had to vacate his 147-pound title. I meant 140-pound title. Almost similar to when Demetrius Andrade, if he would have fought Matvey Korobov and got that Rock Nation money and won a 160-pound title, then he would have no longer been a 140-pound champion. So now that this out of the way, we can move on. The question I've been noticing now is people are like, Ruslan Provodnikov is going to murder Matthysse. And I think to myself, no. Now, here's the records right now. Now, here's what the official records are. Yes, I don't count that event when he fought Castillo, but what I'm going to say is this. 24-3 with 17 KOs. 36-3 with 34 KOs. Look at Lucas Matthysse. Lucas Matthysse has went the distance multiple times. Once in a win. Only once in a win. Only once in a win. And his 3 times in defeat. Zab Judah, Devin Alexander, Danny Garcia. Now, despite what you think about the Zab Judah and Devin Alexander fights, whatever the case may be, he has 3 defeats on his record. That shows that if you box him and if you don't succumb to the fear, you have a good chance to beat him. When you look on the other side of the river, when you look at Ruslan Provodnikov, 24-3 with 17 KOs, what do you see with him? If you can move, if you can box, Ruslan is sick freak Siberian Provodnikov, even though he will push a frozen car to a fight. True story. I don't know why. Why not just leave the car? But he pushed it. I don't know why. It's a sick story, and it's true. But he doesn't know how to cut off the ring. So if you can move and keep moving, and as they say, classic boxing, terminology, stick and move, you have a good chance to defeat Ruslan Provodnikov. If you think you got something to prove and you don't have the chin or the balls of a Mauricio Herrera, who was the last person to cleanly defeat Ruslan Provodnikov, yes, Timothy Bradley won, but Timothy Bradley won that fight on his knees, remember? And yes, Chris Algieri won, but Chris Algieri barely won that fight, remember? So, looking at putting them two together, Lucas Matthysse, and you're putting Ruslan Provodnikov together. Lucas Matthysse, yes, is a big bad wolf. And of the big bad wolf of what was the Heyman fighters. He's not an Al Heyman fighter anymore, and that's significant. We're going to talk about that. And then you have Ruslan Provodnikov, who's the big bad wolf for the HBO top rank fighters, meaning guys like Mike Alvarado, who he beat, Timothy Bradley, who he got that crazy fight with. Timothy Bradley ain't been the same since. Marquez ain't want no parts of him. Rios would have did it, but the money wasn't right. So and then Chris Algieri. So when you look at putting them two together, you have to ask yourself, okay, put them two in the ring, right? And go by their last performances, their last significant performances. Lucas Matthysse last significant performance was against John Molina, and Ruslan Provodnikov last significant performance was against Chris Algieri. So put those two fighters from both of those fights and you tell me, okay, who would win? Now you could say, well, Lucas Matthysse was taking some clean shots from John Molina, and we've seen him get hurt and roughed up more than he ever has in his career. But then you think, when you look at, well, if Matthysse just uses the boxing ability that he has, because he's actually a really, really good boxer, you know, when he's out there, not out there putting boots to asses. But if you put him in there with Ruslan right now, the one that can't cut off the ring, I see Ruslan throwing punches and maybe catching Matthysse a few times, but not being able to stop him. And realistically, Ruslan Provodnikov getting his face smashed up, which it did before by a much lesser puncher in Mauricio Herrera. So it's all about, you know, how you view the fighters. But I'm saying to myself, you know, with the problems that Ruslan has in cutting off the ring, and if he's not cutting off the ring, he'll have you right there, but won't throw the punches. I see Lucas Matthysse just simply put landing a lot of clean, easy shots. Now I understand I have to talk about his performance against Castillo, but looking at the fight, it's like he was 40 years old. We know Castillo had been done long ago, and the fight was in Russia, so basically the way they marketed the fight was Ruslan Provodnikov is going to be fighting here, bring over a Mexican warrior, simple formula. Bring over a Mexican warrior that's known for the guy who almost beat Mayweather. We don't care how many losses he had since. They look at boxing as like an event, you know, over there, as far as they're not really following the boxers. They know the names, yes, but now, I don't know, it's hard to explain because I don't want to sound disrespectful and not call them fans. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that, you know, you bring a Mexican warrior, you know, over to a foreign country like bring him over Russia or something against Provodnikov. You know, they don't care how many, you know, they're going to support the shit out of that Mexican fighter. Don't care how many losses he had. They're like, oh, that's the guy who beat such and such or almost beat such and such, even if that shit was 20 years ago. I'm T Street Controversy with RealCombatMedia.com. I'm T Street Controversy Live, March the 28th, 2015. They're working out the final details. Ruslan Provodnikov versus, actually, who would be A-side? Lucas Matthysse won his last fight, so I guess it would be Matthysse versus Provodnikov, 36-3 with 34 KOs, and then Provodnikov, 24-3 with 17 KOs. The winner will most likely face the winner of Terrence Crawford, Chris Algieri. If that goes down, Terrence Crawford is already set for the week before, which is crazy. So on March the 21st, you're going to have the Terrence Crawford versus Chris Algieri fight, possibly. And then March the 28th, also on HBO, you'll have Lucas Matthysse versus Ruslan Provodnikov. And Lucas Matthysse is no longer an Al Haymon fighter. And in fact, he's the first fighter I've ever known to just no longer just be with Al Haymon. I thought Al Haymon contracts were eternal. But whatever the case may be, you know, if you looked at it, he wasn't getting the fights that he wanted. And also, those fighters were being kept away from Lucas Matthysse, the guys like the Adrian Broners, the Danny Garcia rematches, you know, and the fights of that magnitude. But as it stands right now, T Street Controversy, this is T Street Controversy Live. Lucas Matthysse is a 140-pound fighter. His manager, current manager and promoter, he is signed with Golden Boy Promotions. He is a Golden Boy Promotions fighter. They are keeping him at 140 pounds, and they're going to go after Terrence Crawford or whoever the winner is of that WBO title, whether Chris Algieri decides to fight him or not. And apparently, Chris Algieri wants to get some more money. But I'm going to do a video on that too. T Street Controversy, T Street Controversy Live.